That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent.
Why would Donald Trump humiliate Charlie Kirk's wife at her own husband's memorial? That's the question that has everyone online buzzing right now, and the story only gets stranger the deeper you look. On what should have been a somber tribute, Trump managed to turn the spotlight on himself, making bizarre comments that left Charlie's wife, Erika, caught in the middle of one of the most uncomfortable moments imaginable. And when you connect the dots between Trump, Erika's past, and Charlie's controversial stances before his death, the theories start to get wild. But let's back up, because to understand why this moment has everyone talking, you need to know the full story. Before we dive into Trump's shocking speech, there's one detail about Charlie Kirk's wife, Erika, that makes this story even more bizarre. Back in 2012, Erika was competing for Miss USA, the same pageant Donald Trump owned at the time. Now, think about that for a second. If Erika was part of Miss USA while Trump was running the entire show, there's a very real chance they crossed paths long before she ever married Charlie. That coincidence alone has fueled endless speculation online. People are asking, was this just a random overlap in their pasts, or was there more to the connection between Trump and Erika than anyone realized? And it gets even stranger once you remember the other controversy Charlie Kirk was wrapped up in before his death. Charlie Kirk wasn't just another conservative activist. He had a reputation for pushing certain battles that even his allies weren't comfortable with. One of his loudest calls was demanding that the Epstein files be released. He argued that the truth should come out, no matter who it exposed. But here's where things get tense. Donald Trump? He's been on the opposite side of that conversation. Trump almost never mentions Epstein unless he's distancing himself, and the last thing he wants is more documents linking powerful names to that scandal. So now you have this clash: Kirk, the guy pushing transparency on Epstein, and Trump, the guy who clearly doesn't want that fight picked. For some, this planted a seed of suspicion that maybe Kirk's crusade put him at odds with people who were supposed to be on his side. And that tension seemed to hang in the air when Trump finally stood up to speak at Charlie's memorial.
Shortly before Charlie arrived on campus, the day he was assassinated, a staff member texted him that there were many critics and students who were opposed to his views, and rather strenuously in the crowd. And that actually made him feel good, because he wanted to convince them. He understood. He really did. He understood what was right, and he was right about that. A lot of it was based on common sense, by the way. Charlie wrote back to the staff member saying, "I'm not here to fight them. I want to know them and love them, and I want to reach them and try and lead them into a great way of life in our country." In that private moment on his dying day, we find everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erika. But now Erika can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent. Charlie's angry. Look at that. He's angry at me now. He wasn't interested in demonizing anyone. He was interested in persuading everyone to the ideas and principles he believed were good, right, and true. Before each appearance, he prayed these words: "God, use me for your will." Always said the same thing: use me for your will. And that is exactly what God did. When you think, that's exactly what he did. The more success Charlie had, and he was getting more and more successful, the more dangerous his mission became. On campuses all over the country, his quest for open dialogue was met with menacing hate. There were bomb threats, pulled fire alarms, and countless rage-filled radicals who tried to shout him down. It was nasty. I used to say, "Charlie, this is nasty stuff you're doing." At one event, police had to build barricades to protect students from an angry mob of thugs. Many of these people, by the way, are paid a lot of money to do this. They're agitators. They're paid agitators. Remember that? When you see they all have the same beautifully printed sign, every sign is identical, comes out of a top-level print shop. That's not the signs that are made in somebody's basement. Those are paid for by very bad people, and hopefully we're going to be finding out through the DOJ who those people are. At another college, Antifa terrorists shattered windows, threw rocks, and tried to storm the building where Charlie was speaking. It was a really bad one. Often dozens of police officers were needed to prevent left-wing violence. And the violence comes largely from the left. You don't hear that from too many people, do you? And virtually every day for years before he was murdered, Charlie received these horrible death threats. People don't know. I used to talk to him about it. He said, I got some threats. He always felt that when they actually made the threat, they were not the ones to worry about. The ones to worry about were the ones that don't make the threats. And I think you know what I mean. He knew the risk, but he and I shared a certain motto: never back down and never, ever surrender. Just don't surrender, never back down. He believed in it so strongly. So strongly. And he's right. He's totally right. The radicals and their allies in the media, sometimes referred to, as my son said, the fake news media, tried to silence Charlie for a simple reason: because he was winning, and he was winning big. He was taking over college campuses, colleges that had, in theory, only very liberal, or as they like to say, progressive. I call them liberal, but they like to call themselves, because such a beautiful word, progressive. They're the opposite of progressive, if you think about it. But they were really nasty, and he would go into these colleges. All of a sudden, within 2 years, 3 years, they turned into bastions of conservatism. It was really quite amazing to see.
I'm not here to fight them. I want to know them and love them and try to lead them into a great way of life. It sounded like a moment of unity, until Trump suddenly flipped the script. He stopped, looked at the crowd, and said, "That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponents, and I don't want the best for them." The room froze. This was supposed to be a tribute, but Trump had made it about his own grudges. And then, almost unbelievably, he turned to Charlie's wife and said, "I'm sorry, Erika." Imagine being Erika in that moment. Grieving your husband, only to have the most powerful figure in the room twist his eulogy into a personal rant and then drag you into it publicly. For many watching, it wasn't just awkward. It was humiliating. And online, people wasted no time pointing out how bizarre the whole thing was. Clips of the memorial hit TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube almost instantly. Comment sections filled with people saying the same thing: Trump turned the whole event into a circus. For some, it was just another example of Trump making everything about himself. But others felt something darker was hiding underneath. Why would he directly involve Erika? Why bring up his own hatred of opponents while supposedly honoring someone who had just been killed? TikTok especially blew up with edits of the moment. Users zoomed in on Erika's reaction. Some swore you could see her face tighten when Trump apologized to her. Others noted the applause that followed Trump's outburst, questioning whether the crowd was genuinely supporting him or just unsure how else to respond. It was messy. And the internet thrives on messy. Which is exactly why conspiracy theories started spreading like wildfire. Theories online began connecting the dots, and while none of this is proven, the speculation alone was enough to take the story viral. One of the most popular claims was that Charlie Kirk knew too much. His push for Epstein documents made people wonder if he had gotten closer to uncovering names and details that certain figures didn't want out. Some even said Trump's awkward speech was a veiled way of signaling that Kirk's mission had gone too far. Again, none of this is confirmed fact. But that hasn't stopped social media from piecing together timelines, digging up interviews, and replaying Trump's comments word for word. The line that people keep circling back to is, "I hate my opponents." At a memorial, those words rang strange, almost chilling. And to many, it sounded less like a eulogy and more like a warning. And that brings us back to Erika, the one person in the room Trump addressed directly. For Erika, the spotlight wasn't supposed to be on her. Yet Trump made her the centerpiece of the strangest moment of the night. She had already lived through the chaos of Charlie's death. She had to sit in front of cameras, reporters, and supporters, carrying the weight of grief. And now, here was Trump not only reminding her of that pain, but apologizing to her in the middle of his rant about hatred. Add to that her Miss USA past. People online didn't miss the connection. Erika had been in Trump's orbit long before Charlie. To many, that fact made the whole situation feel less like coincidence and more like déjà vu, as if Trump had some deeper tie to her story than people realized. And when you put all of these pieces together, it becomes hard not to wonder, was Trump's moment of humiliation really an accident, or was it something deliberate? If this were just one isolated event, maybe people could chalk it up to Trump being Trump. But history tells us this fits a pattern. Over the years, Trump has repeatedly turned solemn occasions into personal platforms. Whether it's funerals, memorials, or national tragedies, he often uses the stage to rehash grudges, attack opponents, or spin the spotlight back onto himself. For Charlie Kirk supporters, this should have been a time to remember his work, his faith, and his impact. Instead, the memorial became another moment of controversy. Trump's words didn't just overshadow Charlie's message, they overshadowed his wife, his memory, and the very purpose of the gathering. And that's why so many people are left asking the same haunting question. Was Trump simply unable to step out of the spotlight, or was this humiliation of Erika part of something deeper? In the end, what should have been a unifying tribute turned into a viral storm of awkwardness, humiliation, and speculation. Donald Trump's words left Charlie Kirk's wife at the center of one of the strangest memorial moments in recent memory. And the unanswered questions remain. Was this just another case of Trump making everything about himself? Or did the tension between Trump, Charlie, and the secrets Kirk may have been chasing finally boil to the surface? Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain, this moment won't be forgotten anytime soon. And for Erika, it's a memory that will forever link her not just to her husband's legacy, but to Donald Trump's most bizarre and controversial eulogy.